Greetings all! Today, we'll be examining the potentially legendary normal-type Pokemon type Null and its evolution Silvally, the two collectively known as the Synthetic Pokémon. Abominations and weapons in the eyes of some, but living creatures deserving of loving care regardless. The members of the type Null family are mysterious beasts whose forms of biology more than show them to be unlike anything mankind has ever produced otherwise.
Type Null are artificial quadrupedal beasts with black body skin, purple muscle ribbing on their back legs with 3-toed feet, and green front legs with a spiny texture, and 3 green claws, 2 in the front and the 3rd in the back for stability, further possessing a blue-lined, grey-colored and nubbed fishtail, and a 2-layer frill of grey hair on their neck. Their head has a hatchet-shaped bundle of hair with a large copper-colored and green accented control mask that binds their head hair and face, keeping them entirely hidden, save for a pair of grey eye holes on the front with a black face mask beneath it. Their evolved form, Silvally, have the same basic body form as their pre-evolved form, the key difference being that their control mask has been broken, revealing their true head. Their tail and neck frill have turned a snow-white color in the process to match the rest of their true head, which has a canine-like structure with grey eyes, a grey robotic upper jaw and face with circular metallic cheek joints, a small black nose and sharp teeth, while their head frill is now fully extended with a grey front covering that changes color depending on what type Silvally currently is, in conjunction with their RKS system.
Type Null and its evolved form, Silvally, are different from nearly every other species of Pokemon because they are more than just artificial. They are completely synthetic life forms.
Type Null was originally created in response to the threat posed by Ultra Beasts and the Ultra Wormholes that allow the extra-universal entities to travel from their worlds into ours. Because the variety of Ultra Beasts that could come out of these portals was completely unknown at the time of Type Null's inception, it was decided that the world needed some sort of protection against these creatures if they proved to be a threat to the safety of the inhabitants of the Alola region and the world beyond it. As such, the head researchers of the Aether Foundation made the decision to create a life form that could potentially handle any and all threats that would appear from these wormholes. The goal then became to create a synthetic life form that could be used as an anti-UB fighting force, and thus the RKS program was started. Within this program, researchers inspired by the type-changing abilities of Arceus took cellular tissue samples from Pokemon of every single elemental type and meshed them together with a robotic interface to create a cyborg, codenamed Beast Killer, possessing a mechanical skeleton and mouth parts with masses of living tissue carefully cultivated and grafted onto the mechanical frame, granting them a Frankenstein-like appearance.
With the organism itself completed, labeled as Type Full, the next part of the project was undertaken, the installation of the prototype RKS system.
This data scanning system, constructed with the type-changing abilities of Arceus in mind, was designed to react with the somatic cells of the host and mutate them in response to different disk-based memory drives containing coded information on the cellular structure of life forms of different elemental types, hoping to create a natural mesh between the diversity of cellular mass in its body and the drives available to alter the combat abilities of the creatures on a whim. However, when the only 3 Type Node prototypes were exposed to the RKS system, they experienced severe tissue rejection and went completely berserk, unable to be controlled in the slightest. Unable to pacify their wild behavior, the beasts were fitted with control masks in order to keep them in a manageable state before ultimately being cryogenically frozen. Labeled as failures, the name of these creatures was changed from Type Full to Type Null, reflecting that they could not handle the versatility combat system they were intended to work with, and therefore were literally nothing of use. Despite this, these creatures were eventually proven to be capable of evolving into Silvally and obtaining the full set of powers as intended, and in this state, they make their presence known in battle readily, as all of the base stats are above average for a fully evolved normal-type Pokemon, in turn showing that the experiment was a success, just in need of something special in order to bring out the full power safely and consistently. Thankfully, for the sake of the Type Null known to exist, at least 2 of the clones are known to have been taken from Aether Paradise where they were stored. One of them was taken by Gladion, the son of the Aether Foundation's leader, Lusamine, while another was given to an unknown trainer that assisted in the defeat of Necrozma and the restoration of the world's light in the Alola region in recent times. So at the very least, they were able to find good people to live the rest of their lives with, though it seems a rival organization stole the secret plans to the creatures, leading to the reproduction of one somewhere in the Galar region, and possibly even more in the future.
Because Type Null are unable to control themselves readily without some sort of aid, all Type Null are fitted with a heavy control mask that prevents mutation from occurring, as would be expected if their RKS system was actually fully functional.
In this state, they still have full control over their power in terms of base stats, with the only exception being their base speed stat, which is lower than it should be as a result of the heavy weight of the control mask, and are permanently outfitted with the Battle Armor ability as the only ability as a consequence of the sturdy design of the control mask. Because of their muted mental and physical state, these creatures show little in the way of emotion and will attack on sight when they feel a threat, and while it is not known if they ever encountered an Ultra Beast in battle, it is assumed that their aggression would likely increase greatly if put up against such a creature. As long as they are in this state, however, these creatures still have access to a wide variety of moves and are able to battle quite effectively. And while the Battle Armor ability they possess as a result of the control mask on their heads might give them a bit of an edge in certain cases, it is clear that Type Null do not live up to their full power, and thus cannot be said to be the beast killer they are originally labeled to be. The fact that they have been labeled as failures in this state is disheartening to be sure, but aside from this, there is little known about how these creatures interact with stimuli in the natural environment, outside of brief glances and studies with a few that have access to them.
While it was originally believed that Type Null were incapable of actually controlling the power and successfully meshing it with the living tissue, it was discovered by Gladian that there is one thing that can allow these beasts to actually control their power. Friendship.
As Gladian himself discovered, if these creatures are allowed to increase in power and are treated with great care and respect by a human to the point of forming a strong bond with them, these creatures will forcefully smash the control masks on their heads, finally finding a reason to actually control themselves and causing their sealed powers to awaken, in turn allowing them to evolve. Named Silvally by Gladian himself, the eyes of these beasts contain a wild temperament unseen in their pre-evolved state as a symbol of their normal excitable temperament finally being unleashed. While the combat stats of these creatures do not change all that much, with the exception of their base speed stat considerably increasing as a result of the removal of the heavy control mask, their temperament is also able to run wild in this state, while still loyally following the commands of the human that brought them to the state in the first place. The bodies of these creatures have successfully merged with the installed RKS system, thus allowing these beasts to change their type through the insertion of special memory disks into the RKS system attached to their head, which causes the somatic cells to mutate instantly and change color and form depending upon the disc inserted, their bodies in turn shining a silver aura from the energy bursting forth from within. Moreover, these creatures gain the ability to use the power offensively as well through their signature attack, the multi-attack, which they gain access to immediately after evolving. This attack essentially involves these beasts cloaking themselves in elemental energy before viciously striking at the opposition with their claws to inflict a tremendous amount of damage. Much as with Judgment and Arceus, the type of this attack is dependent upon the memory disk that the user is holding, and thus is the only move that Silvally naturally learned that they will always get full stab bonus for, in turn heightening this overall damaging power immensely. In addition to this, it is noted that evolution allows these creatures to additionally gain the ability to wield the Explosion, Fire Fang, Thunder Fang, Ice Fang, Poison Fang, Bite, Crunch, and Parting Shot moves. Overall, this is the kind of power that the RKS project was originally started to create, and with an understanding that these beasts needed love and kindness to perform their best, just like any other Pokemon, it is hoped that future attempts to create such a life form will take this into account for the sake of both its creators and the life forms themselves.
I'm gonna be honest in telling you that the mere existence of these creatures really rubs me the wrong way, but I don't blame it on the creatures themselves. No, not at all. I understand that when Ultra Beasts were popping out of the woodwork a few years ago in the Alola region, there was a lot of fear present. I totally get it. It's one thing to be confronted with powerful Pokemon from Earth, but to see and encounter ones from an alien world? People have a right to be scared, and granted, some like Nihilego are worth fearing for what they can do to people. But even with that said, there was no need for these beasts to really be created, especially given how their creators ultimately chose to treat them when they didn't measure up to the standards hoped for. In hindsight, sure, they had a powerful machine that could handle any type of Pokemon thrown at it, but they forgot to give them love, to treat them humanely as fellow creatures. That is what caused them to truly go berserk, to be treated as weapons and little more, and I'd do the same if I was in their shoes. Ultimately, it's a good thing that, hopefully, no more of these beasts will ever be produced. but those that have been made should be provided with love and care, and not just to bring out the best of their power. It should be done because all creatures deserve respect and love. All creatures, no matter what.
Vicious and powerful as they may be, and a serious threat to those who are unprepared for them, the members of the Type No family are still creatures that deserve love and care, just as my wife said, even if they are synthetic in biology. The chances of you coming across one of these creatures may be extremely small, but for the few that are out there, they are powerful beasts that can easily prove to be too much for most to handle.
Just do yourself a favor and, if you ever are confronted by one of these creatures, do your best to keep on the good side. They might have the potential to take on any beast that gets in the way, but just like any animal, they can still bite those that mistreat them, and show that even mankind can, in its own way, wield and weaponize the power of a god.
Thank you all for watching this video. It is always a pleasure to help teach others about the world of Pokemon and the many facets of it that exist in both the world we call home and the world they call home. If you'd like, please leave a comment and subscribe and ring the bell to this channel to get regular updates on content and anything else that might be going on. You can find me and my written work on DeviantArt under the name Utitus, and be informed of information and content uploads on my Twitter page and my Patreon page. Donations are always welcome. Always remember, the world of Pokemon is a vast and varied place, and there's no telling what secrets might be hiding just around the corner. So keep watch, stay vigilant, and always prepare for the unexpected. Until next time, have a wonderful rest of the day.